Sitting on my new apartment couch, 6 months after I left, my phone was buzzing like a swarm of furious bees, attempting to guilt me into going back to hell. As if I were trapped in a terrible sitcom rerun, my parents' numbers kept flashing. Mom's, Dad's, and now Tyler's. Their names flashing over the screen in a futile dance of terror was almost comical. As if it were about to burst if I paid any attention to it for any length of time, I sat with my arms crossed and watched it vibrate across the coffee table. 6 months ago, I believed I'd finally left my parents' house for good. I packed a duffel bag with a few essentials, including my laptop, and slipped out the door, leaving no trace behind. I decided that was it, so I just walked away without slamming anything or cursing them out. But here they were, acting as if I owed them my soul once more, destroying my phone. I relaxed, exhaled slowly, and had that sinister, gratifying twist in my chest as evidence that I had finally shook them. Nothing could touch me now, not like before, but the constant buzzing served as a constant reminder of what I'd fled. You may be asking how I, a 29-year-old financial genius, wound myself in this situation, with a family who regarded me like a sentimental ATM. You should stay for the story, I promise. Imagine this. Here I am, Jordan Evans, the perfect child who never messed up against my immaculate sibling and my merciless parents. Yes, I did manage to escape the jam. My phone was rattling like a wild animal, but I just sat there and grinned. Simply said, I wasn't the one frantically trying to resolve the issue this time. Curious as to what went wrong? I assure you, this is only the beginning, and things are about to get wilder, so be sure to keep reading. Alright, let's go back a little faster. Because the complete jumbled picture of my childhood is necessary for you to grasp this. Now I'm 29 years old and known as Jordan Evans. When I was a kid, I was the perfect child. I never fought with my parents, never ran away, and always did my best to follow the rules. The golden child, the one who could do no wrong, even though he was wrong every damn day, was my older brother Tyler, who is 33 years old and still a walking disaster. Imagine this. At the age of 20, newly self-aware, Tyler drops out of university. The parents give the impression that it's a heroic mission. His 3 consecutive jobs, a retail store, a warehouse, and even a nice office, have all been terminated due to his lack of originality. His bosses have shrugged their shoulders and claimed that everyone is having a hard time these days. After that, he returns home at the age of 31, has no work, no plans, and just lounges on the couch as if he's earned it. His parents are totally cool with it, treating him like a lost pet. Am I? I worked my way through college by working late shifts and saving up, earning a degree in finance, and then landing a respectable job right after graduation. I started working as a burger flipper when I was 16 years old. Has a procession ever been held in my honor? Not at all. Jordan, you hardly did a decent job because I did just that. Among my friends, I was known for being the one who could be relied on and who required no special attention. At our house, love wasn't free or warm. It came with strings, and I learned early on that they could pull them whenever they pleased. Whenever I would see my mom, Linda, she would let out a heavy sigh. There has been a lot of stress recently. Her voice is trembling like she's trying out for a soap opera, and her dad, Mark, would casually drop bombs. I was supposed to nod in agreement. Tyler is really making an effort, but he needs a bit more time to stand up. What more can you do when it involves your family? I allowed them to sow the seeds of guilt even though I saw what they were doing. I worked my whole life to get by without ever requesting money, but you can bet that someone else did it repeatedly. Guess who they thought would step up as their debts began to pile up? Tyler, who returns home empty-handed. The same old me. I was never a shambles like him, because I always had everything under control. The gradual drip of expectation that I would carry them all was cold and deliberate. It wasn't abuse, at least not in my opinion. They would always be there to help Tyler, no matter how many times he messed up, destroyed his car, or spent all of his rent money. It was as if it were my responsibility to keep the world turning, because I would arrive with a payment and a strategy, while others would hardly raise an eyebrow from their coffee. Grinning from ear to ear, I reassured myself that everything would be all right and that I was strong enough to manage it. That power, though, was not free, and they were indifferent to the cost to me. Mom would wax poetic about the inseparable bond of family, Dad would nod as if he were a wise old sage, and Tyler, content to sit back and grin, would do nothing. Year after year, I lived through it. the excellent kid supporting the golden child and parents who openly showed their favoritism. You will understand my reasoning when I tell you that I left 6 months ago. I refused to play the game anymore after finally realizing it for what it was, not some arbitrary tantrum. Please stay for the part where I stop being a safety net and the guilt trips escalate into outright begging. It was as if I had unknowingly signed up to be their personal lifeline. Here I was, 29-year-old Jordan Evans, working my tail off in finance, putting in long hours for great pay. It began innocently enough. The phone rings and it's Mom. She sounded so sad when she said, "Oh, Jordan, we're a little short on the electric bill this month." I'd send a check, no big deal, right? After that, it's time for grocery shopping. Have you a few things on hand? We completely forgot to go shopping again. Plus, I'd always bring bags with me, knowing full well that they wouldn't even bother if I didn't. Mortgages followed. According to Dad, it's just temporary and we'll find a solution shortly. However, what started as a temporary situation quickly became a monthly one, and I found myself covering nearly everything. Everything they needed, including utilities, food, and the blasted house payment. Everything but their car was taken care of while Tyler sat on the couch, controller in hand, seemingly doing us all a favor by racking up high scores. I made it all on my own, never once begged for money. However, they pretended it was nothing out of the ordinary, as if I owed them, as I poured my money into their mess. The mother's frame grew larger. With her eyes watering, she would lament, "Things have been so tight lately," and her father would join in. Something remains elusive to Tyler. Working outside is difficult. It's as if I'd never done it before. Since we are all in this together, I would just nod, send the money, and remain silent. That's what they tried to convince me of, and I fell for it. Completely and utterly. At the same time, Tyler is over there, 33 years old, unemployed, without a job, and living like a guest in his own house, while I'm the one who has to pick up the slack, my bank account draining, while they act like everything is fine. I clenched my jaw, dealt with it, and told myself it was just temporary. I thought they'd figure it out in due time. However, months and years passed with no improvement. Except me. The gradual internal fire grew, and I grew both angrier and quieter. Their expressions of gratitude for the opportunity would remain unchanged despite the fact that my savings would decrease and my weekends would be consumed by running errands for them. No, they didn't exactly demand it. Those were more cunning. I became their crutch, their ATM, and their remedy for every poor decision they made since those subtle signals and passive-aggressive jabs weren't enough. Tyler did absolutely nothing but watch and take it all in, and I allowed it to happen because, well, what else could I do? Send them tumbling. I allowed them to gradually tighten the leash until I could hardly breathe, thinking I was being strong, responsible, and the good daughter. In reality, I was just stupid. That's how things worked up until about 6 months ago, when I lost it. If you want to know when I shut up and start fighting back, you'll have to keep reading. Finally, 6 months ago, after years of playing their game, on a Sunday afternoon after a particularly long week at work, with spreadsheets burning my eyes and the most recent family assistance payment still stinging my bank account, everything came to a climax. As usual, I dropped by my parents' house armed with a plethora of grocery bags. I had a feeling they wouldn't have gone grocery shopping, so I went in anticipating the normal peaceful mayhem. On the contrary, I was surprised by an ambush. As she prepared to unleash her frustration, Mom Linda sat in the living room with her arms crossed and her lips pressed into that thin, angry line she had reserved. Mark, my father, shook his head in the kitchen as if I had already let him down, while Tyler lay on the couch, mindlessly tapping away on his phone. I hadn't even uttered a word when Mom dove head first into it. I had barely laid the bags down. I knew this wasn't going to end well the moment she spoke with a voice strong enough to break glass. "But we must speak, Jordan." With his hands casually in his pockets, Dad casually stepped forward. "We've been discussing this, and we believe you should start pitching in more. You have a nice income, and it's unfair that we have to work hard so that you can live lavishly." My mind was racing to make sense of that, and all I could do was blink. For what reason? I maintained my voice steady and continued, "I am already contributing," but Mom laughed. "Bills here and there are insignificant in comparison to our needs." Here I was, hoarding my allowance like a miserly child. In an effort to maintain composure, I clenched my fists at my sides and dug my nails into them. For the past 2 years, I've been paying off the mortgage, which is quite a bit. However, Tyler, scowled. "The only thing that matters is the money, sister. They've done a lot for us." I quickly turned my attention to him. "Who am I? You won't be paying anything, in my opinion." Mom became quite angry and her face contorted. "Stop being so mean to your brother. He's only trying to help." In addition, I emitted a chilly, unfunny laugh. "Is that so?" From my vantage point, it appears that his sole objective is to establish a record for the longest hours spent inactively. With a strong voice, Dad cut in. "This is enough, Jordan. We're requesting that you take charge. We can't handle this house by ourselves. Assume responsibility if you were an excellent daughter." At that last, jarring moment, something snapped inside of me. My time, money, and patience, which I had given them for years, were all for naught. Breathing slowly, I exhaled. "Please tell me I'm not mistaken. You want me to pay off the mortgage and all the bills while Tyler does absolutely nothing, and you don't think that's unfair?" Something changed in Mom. "As our daughter, we simply assumed you would wish to provide for your loved ones." And I fired back. "Who is Tyler, anyway?" "Plants for the home." Thanks for nothing, Tyler sat up straight and sent an icy stare. "This is not what I requested, man." And I snatched my rucksack. "No. It was beneficial for you, though." Anger washed over Mom as she rose to her feet. "Do not return if you exit through that door." My gaze fixed on her. This drawn-out, burdensome time. He then grinned. "All right, it's that easy." I got up and left. Nothing fancy, no ranting, just done. My shoulders relaxed like if I had been lugging around their muck all my life and had finally let go when the cold, stinging air slammed into my face. There it was. The beach boundary. I refused to return, regardless of how much they enticed me. I departed that day and settled into my own apartment, a cozy, peaceful space that was entirely mine. I breathed air devoid of entitlement and guilt trips for 6 months. It was liberating. I let the calls and texts to pile up like junk mail that I would never open, so I ignored them at first. It was liberating, like if I had peeled off a layer of suffocating self-consciousness. Just me, 29-year-old Jordan Evans, living my own life. No more late-night transfers to their account, no more supermarket errands. On several occasions, I felt like I could have danced around the couch. That was how lovely the quiet was. Their numbers would flash, Mom's, Dad's, and even Tyler's a couple of times. However, I would observe it reverberate while grinning, since they no longer had control over me. Not at all. After that, it changed today. Dad sent a text asking why the mortgage wasn't paid this month. Like I was still running errands for them, I just stared at this simple request. As I slowly exhaled, a mix of satisfaction and dread curled in my chest. Finally, evidence that they had never intended to be independent. I said, "Oh, I thought I wasn't welcome," clicked send, and then leaned back with a smile on my face because my phone went boom. A deluge of messages, calls, and alerts gushing in as if a dam had burst. A frenetic chorus of anguish, including Tyler, Mom, and Dad, all at once. I waited a little while before touching it. Instead, I observed it flit across the table, trembling like an ensnared animal. And I let out a quick, low-volume giggle because, after 6 months of nothing, after years of me paying their expenses, everything descended into beautiful, chaotic disorder the moment I stopped. Sitting with my arms crossed, I let the sensation of independence and power to fully sink in. I was finally free from the burden of trying to solve their mess and from giving in to their weary old demands. I was done being their support system, done allowing them to take advantage of me while I worked tirelessly, so I didn't care if my mom posted anything angry, my dad something sensible, or Tyler something meaningless. With each disregarded ring, the phone continued its relentless ring, and I felt a sigh of relief, as if I had finally severed the last tie that bound me to their sinking ship. Although there was still a long way to go, I felt like I had won, a huge, bittersweet victory. After a while of letting the phone thrash, I finally gave in to my curiosity and snatched it up. I browsed through the chaos and saw messages from Mom, including, "What's wrong with you? How could you do this to us? The bank phoned, and we're late. Then dial my number immediately. This is critical. We risk losing the house." Are you seriously going to let Tyler's gem go down the drain just to make a point? They clearly don't have the cash on hand. The guilt trip had arrived precisely when they had planned it. I could have responded, could have fired back, but I have chosen not to do so at this time. Maybe, just maybe, they would come to terms with the fact that I wasn't their thing anymore, so I sat back and allowed them fume. After waiting 20 minutes, Tyler texted again, telling his parents to answer the phone since this isn't funny. Their calls went straight to voicemail. Funnily enough, that's just how I discovered it. I had been happily investing in that house for years while I heard no complaints, but as soon as I turned off the power twice, everything started to fall apart. I dialed the bank's number and pretended to be a worried daughter. "Hello, I used to take care of my parents' mortgage payments, but I stopped doing so recently. I was just checking in with them to see where things stood." After what seemed like an eternity on hold, a representative finally returned my call and informed me that the account had been overdue for almost 8 months. I couldn't help but let out a small gasp as I processed the news. I hung up the phone with a grin on my face because, oh my, they were screwed. I had them in the palm of my hand with all that money I had sent, thousands, and they had taken it, ignored the mortgage, and thought I would keep bailing them out indefinitely. What a brilliant plan, huh? Tyler was there, so I figured he must know something. The phone hardly rung before he answered, and I interrupted to ask, "Jordan, you finally need to fix this." He then asked, "Hey, quick question, where did all the money I sent go?" "Oh, come on, dude, you live there. You didn't notice my parents' sudden flushing as I was bleeding dry?" Then he spluttered, "I don't know what you're talking about." After a long, heavy quiet, I snorted. The bank said they hadn't received complete payment in 8 months. He paused for a moment before huffing, "You don't get it. Our parents needed help." I couldn't help but laugh sharply. "Oh, I get it loud and clear. I got it every month for years. You all lied, pocketed my money, and now you're freaking out because the well's dry." He growled, "You're being cruel." I hit back, "No, I'm letting you face the consequences of your own stupidity. Big difference." Just as he was about to respond, Mom called, screeching at the last second. I answered crumb, "How dare you, Jordan? You know we need help. The bank is threatening us." I kept my voice calm. "Oh, like how you needed help while I paid and you didn't bother with the mortgage for 8 months. I chuckled again as she gulped down her breath and said, "Don't bring up that subject. Tyler is going through a tough time." "Listen, Mom, you know who else had a tough time? He's been dealing with this for 10 years. Me, keeping a roof over your heads while you lied to my face." Dad grabbed the phone, lower, measured, "Jordan, we just need help this month. We're behind. Foreclosure's coming if you don't step in," and I felt that sharp twist. Not guilt, anger. "Sell the house then," I said, and Mom exploded in the background. "We can't sell. This is our family home." I shrugged even though they couldn't see. "Sounds like a personal problem," Dad inhaled. "Be reasonable. We just need a little support," and I repeated. "Flat. Figure it out like how you figured out how to screw me over for almost a year," and he snapped, "Enough. You're our daughter. You will help." I smiled, slow and bitter. "Looks like you'll have to sort this one without me," and hung up, phone buzzing again instantly, texts, calls, all furious, all desperate, but I didn't care. They'd played me, and now they were caught, and I was just getting started. The phone kept buzzing after I hung up on Dad, Mom's texts piling in, "We need to talk right now," then Dad's, "I can't believe you're doing this after everything we've done for you," and I scoffed, shaking my head, because everything they've done was just a fancy way of saying they'd leaned on me until I broke. I fired back, typing slow and deliberate, "Funny, I was thinking the same thing. You keep asking what kind of daughter I am, but I'm the only one paying attention. I'm not the one who stopped paying the mortgage. Not the one who ignored it for months. Maybe it's time you deal with your own mess," and hit send, my thumb hovering for a second, savoring it. This wasn't about the house anymore. It was about me taking back what they'd stolen, years of my life, my peace, and I wasn't letting them guilt me into it again. Dad called almost instantly, and I picked up on the third ring, voice steady. "Jordan, this isn't you, we raised you better," he said, like that line still worked, and I couldn't hold it in, really, because all I remember is you being there when it was convenient. Me saving your asses every month while you barely noticed when I needed you, too busy with your mess, or Tyler's latest flop, and now I'm ungrateful." He paused, scrambling, and I could hear it, the crack in his voice when he finally said, "We're sorry, Jordan, we messed up, but please, we need your help, we won't make it without you." I tapped the armrest, letting that sit, then exhaled, "No, Dad, you need to stand on your own, you've lived off me too long. It's not my job to fix your mistakes anymore," and he begged. "Please, we'll pay you back, I swear," like I hadn't heard that 100 times. I laughed, short and bitter. "Funny, I've been waiting for that payback for years. Where is it, Dad? Where's the thanks for all I've done?" He went quiet, then mumbled, "Jordan, I'm sorry, you've been more than generous, I took you for granted, but don't let us lose the house, I'm begging you, this is everything," and it hit me, same old plea, same old trap, but this time, it didn't stick. "No," I said, flat and final. "You'll figure this out without me, I'm done," and hung up before he could try again, the silence thick and heavy, but good, so good, I'd cut that cord, finally, and it wasn't a win over them, it was freedom, pure and sharp, like I'd clawed my way out of quicksand. Then Mom texted, "You don't understand, you'll regret this, you'll see how far this goes, we need you, don't ruin everything," and I almost snorted. She still thought I was a tool to wield, not a person who'd had enough. I fired back. "You've had time, I'm done bailing you out, deal with the mess you made, I'm not your fall guy anymore," and Tyler called right after, voicemail popping up when I let it ring out. I played it, speaker on, his voice low and dramatic. "Sis, you messed up big, Mom's crying, Dad's freaking out, you need to fix this," and I rolled my eyes. "Fix this," like I torched their house instead of just stepping away. He kept going, "You're selfish. You think you're proving something, but you're destroying us, I swear if you don't pay," and I deleted it mid-sentence, done with his empty tough guy act. Because what was he gonna do? Sulk harder? Mom called again, and against my better judgment, I answered, her voice shrill, "I hope you're happy, Jordan." The bank called. "We've got days before they take it." "How could you?" I held back a yawn. "You mean the home I had no right to be in anymore?" "That one," she snapped. "Don't mock me, young lady." And I grinned. "Oh, I dare, Mom. Let's recap. You said leave and don't come back, so I did, and now you're mad I followed orders," she growled. "That's not the point. This house is everything," and I cut in, "and yet, it's falling apart the second I stop paying." Wild. "Huh," she went quiet, then venomous. "We did everything for you and you walk away when we need you most," and I exhaled slow. "No, I walked away when I realized I was only good as long as I paid your bills," and hung up. Done, truly done. Their texts still coming, furious, pleading, but I was free, and they couldn't touch me anymore. I turned my phone off after that, stretched out on my couch, flipped through some TV channels and let the silence wash over me, this rare perfect quiet where I wasn't drowning in their endless demands. It felt good, really good, like I'd finally pried their hands off my throat, and I could breathe, think, live for me, Jordan Evans, not their puppet anymore. The weight was gone, lifted, but something nagged at me. This wasn't over, not even close, because they'd keep clawing, keep begging, and I'd have to hold this line. But right then, I didn't care. I'd done it, cut the cord, forced them to face the mess they'd made, and it felt like a victory, bitter and sweet, all at once. So here I am, spilling this out, wondering what you think, because I need to know, did I go too far, pushing them to sink or swim when I could have tried something else, maybe negotiated, found a middle ground, or did I finally do the right thing, cutting them off, making them deal with the consequences of their lies and laziness, Tyler included? I've spent years propping them up, bleeding money and sanity, and now I'm free, but part of me wonders if I'll look back and regret it, if they lose that house, and I feel the guilt creep in. I don't think so, not yet, but I want your take. Tell me, honestly, was I too harsh, or was this the only way to break free? Let me know, because this story's mine. But your thoughts might help me see it clearer.